Nintendo Live 2022, the Nintendo-hosted event at Tokyo Big Sight in October 2022, has now come to a close. Now, I had the chance to go on the first day, and I had a really great time. Now, the event is almost unknown to those in the West, and might not even be on the radar of many people in Japan. So, we're here to give you a breakdown of Nintendo Live 2022. Let's take a look. Danny from the Famicast here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Leave us a comment down below, and we may read it out on our bi-weekly show called the Famicast. Today, though, we're talking about Nintendo Live 2022, talking about what was on offer on the show floor, a couple of anecdotes from the show, thoughts on future events from Nintendo in Japan and abroad, and more. Now again, if you don't live in Japan or follow what's happening with Nintendo closely here, you might not know much about Nintendo Live. So this thing started in 2018, and this event hosts like a variety of tournaments, demos, has merch, concerts, and more. Now for 2022, Nintendo held a lottery for Nintendo Live for both the tournaments and for general admission. Now the event, when it all came down to it, was limited to only around 5,000 people per day and required a Japanese My Nintendo account to register. Now lucky for me, I have these things, and I was one of the few chosen to attend the event on the first day on October 8th. Now, Nintendo Live is a very family-friendly affair. I mean, sure, there's some pretty hardcore tournaments for the likes of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Splatoon 3, but on the other hand, there are also kid-focused versions of these tournaments of the same games, and also some other tournaments and demos for parents and kids. Now, there was also this place specifically for young kids to try out some of Nintendo's biggest titles, like Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario 3D World, and Animal Crossing New Horizons. But the library of games set out on the floor as demos and tournaments. These also offered prizes here as well that were open to attendees, included Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Maker 2 at this place called Nintendo Dojo, a little bit more on that later, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Splatoon 3. All of these required tickets to join. Basically, simple lining up here and waiting was not a thing. Now, there were 4 stages at the event. There's the main stage, the Smash Ultimate stage, the Splatoon 3 stage, and one for the aforementioned Mario Dojo. Now, I think the Smash and Splatoon stages are pretty self-explanatory. I mean, these were the homes to the tournaments being held on the day. Now, the main stage was home to several panels, and also the finals for some of the tournaments and stuff like that here as well. The Mario Dojo. Now, this stage hosted the finals of their 3-game challenge. So players here started out in a group playing a few rounds of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now the winner here would move on to play a challenge stage in Super Mario Maker 2. After that, a mystery Mario game of games that appeared on the Switch would be the next challenge for the finals. Now, games that appeared at this level were Super Mario Odyssey and Smash. Those are the ones I saw them talking about and stuff like that. And those that made it up to this final stage would be able to receive a prize. All those games, panels, tournaments, all this type of stuff, all these stages were also broadcast live on Nintendo's YouTube channel, so even if you couldn't go to the event, you could actually watch it live. Now, a few photo spots and game corners were also available to the public, including ones for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Mario, Pikmin, and the upcoming Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, not only that, but all attendees could go to a KK Slider and Splatoon 3 concert at a designated time during the day that they were at the event. Now, there was also a shop set up on the show floor, but all of the Nintendo Live merch was sold online before the show, so it was just kind of like general stuff here. As for the overall experience of Nintendo Live, I mean, I think this is actually pretty awesome, and I think it's something that any Nintendo fan would probably love. Now, of course, everything is Nintendo themed, and you're surrounded by a bunch of other Nintendo nerds, or the parents of Nintendo nerds, or something like that. Now, I did get a chance to try out the demo tournament thing at the Mario Dojo. I mean, here I was put up against 6 small kids and a dad, so easy peasy, right? Well, after a good start in the first race, a red shell took me down to 2nd place, and I never really recovered heading into the next race, so I missed out on the Super Mario Maker 2 aspect of it all, so no prizes for me. I mean, other than that, this was pretty much the only game I got to play during the event. The KK Slider and Deep Cup concerts, these things were really cool. Now, there were only 3 of them held each day, with the final concert broadcast live on Nintendo's YouTube channel, so that was pretty cool. The seating here was a bit tight in a somewhat Japanese style, but once things got started, everyone, aside from a few sleeping dads, seemed to be enjoying themselves. Again, not uncommon for events like this in Japan post-pandemic. Attendees were asked to refrain from shouting, standing, and just basically doing stuff like that, to which everyone obliged because it's Japan. I'm honestly not super into Animal Crossing these days, but KK's cool, and Splatoon 3, I like the music and the vibe there. And you can, like I said, you can catch this concert over on Nintendo's YouTube channel as long as they haven't taken it down yet. Now, the photo spots were some of the other fun ways to get involved at the event. Now, every time I went by the Mario booth and saw the one for Pokemon, it seemed like there were always pretty semi-long lines there, so I kind of just didn't bother with that. But the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom one was the one that I cared about the most, to be honest. And it was also right front and center, and it always seemed easy enough to kind of get into. Now, it featured some key art from the game in the background and the logo, and also this life-size model of Link. I mean, this thing was super rich in detail, including this pulsating, glowing arm on Link. It was super cool to see up close. Now, while I did have a good time overall during the event, I do have a bit of a complaint. I mean, the small amount of demos or playable experiences for attendees was just a little bit of a letdown here. I mean, only a handful of release games were on hand, and many of them were limited to one play session per day. Now, of course, taking place in some of the big tournaments for Splatoon 3 or Smash or Nintendo Switch Sports if you have a kid and you're, parenting kids. I mean, these are completely different, though. I mean, it just seemed very easy to kind of run out of things to do unless you're super invested into the tournaments that were going on the stages or in the stage shows or something like that. Now, I wanted to watch more of the stage shows. There was a really cool looking one that was about Pokemon history, but my concert was scheduled for the middle of the day, so that kind of prevented that. Now, in a completely random turn of events, I actually somehow managed to meet Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser at the event. Now, it all started with spotting him enter the venue as I was lining up and waiting to get in. Now, after walking around the show floor for a while, and even then, I wasn't even sure if it was him. But anyways, after walking around the show floor for a while, I went in I was kind of hungry, so I went to one of the convenience stores that Big Site had to offer, looking for some food. And as I walked in, I saw him again. Now, this time, I was 100% certain it was him because I heard one of the Japanese Nintendo staffers chat with him and address him as Doug. And shortly after that, I had a quick chat with him myself right then and there in the convenience store. And we shook hands, chatted for a little bit, and then, went on back to the event. And that was that. Or so I thought. So after meeting up with Genki from Twitter, follow him, Genki_GPN. Genki noticed some clearly non-Japanese staff chatting on the show floor, and it was actually Doug Bowser again, and Devin Pritchard, the Executive Vice President of Sales, Marketing, and Communications at Nintendo of America. Now, since it was the third time I saw him that day, this time Genki and I both went ahead and just went up and asked him for pictures, and Devin was kind enough to take pictures for us too. Now, I know, meeting a company executive isn't some kind of magical thing, and when it boils down to it, people like Bowser and Pritchard are just people. But I did feel kind of bad even asking for a picture, but Doug did say something along the lines of like, hey man, like, this is one of the reasons I walk around the show floors at events like this. So it was just kind of great just to be able to meet him and just kind of see a bit more of a human side to that. Nintendo Live 2022 felt like it was something that was kind of planned at the last moment possible. Now, I don't mean that in a completely negative way, but with Nintendo being a very careful company with their image and the gradual opening up of events like this in Japan, I think Nintendo wanted to keep this event somewhat low-key so they wouldn't make headlines for hosting an event that turned into like a COVID hotspot or something like that. Now, that might seem kind of silly to those of you living outside of Japan, but that's where a lot of companies and events are at this point in time. Not every one of them, but some of them. And I think this apprehension might have also limited what they brought to the show. I mean, this is all speculation on my part, but I think it was intentional. I mean, if Nintendo were going to give the world their first hands-on experience for a game like Pokemon Scarlet or Violet or something at an event that had very limited attendance, I think fans would be really, really mad about that. So yeah, it was a bit of a bummer for me and maybe for some of us who were at the event, but I think it was probably a smart move for this year. However, I think Nintendo will go back to bringing upcoming titles to events in the future. You have to remember, they did bring titles pre-release before with the past Nintendo Live events back in 2018 and 2019. Now, the presence of Doug Bowser and Devin Pritchard at the event still remains a bit of a mystery. I mean, does it mean they're working on a Nintendo Live-like event for the North American audience? Maybe. More realistically, and at the very least, I think this is just a good opportunity for NOA to get a look at how Nintendo handles its own events in Japan. It might even give them some ideas as to what they can do for potential Nintendo-hosted events like this in America. Or maybe they were just there for some other undisclosed reason, or maybe they're just there for fun. I mean, I don't know, and only time will tell on this. Now, Nintendo Live is a celebration of everything Nintendo and was a really cool event to go to. I mean, this year, there wasn't really anything new at the event, which was kind of a letdown. I mean, at the same time, I think the limited capacity and perhaps the fear of making gamers who couldn't attend and try out new things played a part in the decision to making the event like it was. I'm hopeful that at some point in the future, maybe 2023 and beyond, that they'll get back to a little bit more normalcy with this kind of stuff. But let's just go ahead and turn things over to you guys. I mean, what do you think of Nintendo Live 2022? Is this something you would attend in your country? Would you make the trip out to Japan to take part in it? Sign up in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to drop this video a like. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. We've got tons of podcasts, reviews, looks at Japan-only events like this, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.